Right, let's get going. In this video, we're going to create a single view application which just has a Facebook login. Now, increasingly, apps are starting to only allow the user to log in via Facebook or Google or Twitter and not actually giving them the option to create an account, simply because that does cause extra hassles for the app developers, and also it's just a slower process for the user. So this might actually be a valid option, but for the sake of this app, we're just going to have a Facebook login. We're not going to have any kind of password and username login as you might have. If you do want to have that in your apps, of course, then use the login system from the Instagram app and combine it with the Facebook one to offer everything. Okay, so let's get started. We want a single view application. Call it Tinder. And same as usual, Swift and iPhone. I'm going to save it there. So let's create that. And we're going to start with integrating Facebook, and then we'll integrate Parse after that. So let's just switch over to the Parse documentation, which we've seen before, and we'll click down on Facebook users, and you can see that there's a really nice guide here for setting everything up. So the first stage, while our app is being created in the background, we're going to need to set up a Facebook app. So you can't do anything with Facebook's SDK before you've set up an app with them. So let's start with doing that, and I'll actually create a new Facebook account. Of course, generally you would use your own Facebook account for this, but if you want to create a new one, I'll do everything right from scratch here. Okay, so put my name in. Eco Web Hosting email address. A password. I'll just pick a random birthday. Make myself roughly the right age. Okay, and sign up. And that will then create a new Facebook account, which you might want to do anyway. If you're starting to create apps, you might not want to link all of those to your general Facebook account. It might be worth having a new one just for your developer account. Okay, I don't want to do any of this, so I'm just going to shut that down and go back to the developer page. So I'm not registered as a developer here, so I'll do that first. And you'll need to do that if you haven't already. Accept the terms and conditions. Register. I'm going to put my phone number in here, but if you don't mind, I won't save that bit in the video. Okay, that's now done. So click there, and we can now create an app, just like we did with Parse, to work with in Xcode. So let's click iOS developers. We're going to need that SDK, so we might as well download that now. So let's save that. And you can see they've got a handy getting started guide as well. So let's just take a quick look at that. We know all of this stuff. So step 2 is install the Facebook SDK. So that's now finished downloading. Let's complete this installation, continue, and install. Great, that's done. Excellent. So the next stage is to create a new app. So let's do that now. Here we go. Right, so I'll call it Tinder. Now for the namespace, we need a unique identifier. This is optional. We're not actually going to be using this app, so I'm just going to call it Tinder and leave that blank for now. Oh, but we do need to choose a category, so let's call it communication. Okay, SFVVCN, I think. And here we are. So this is our app, dashboard. And the main thing that we've got here is our app ID and our app secret. They're going to be the two numbers that we need to get, there we go, our app working with Facebook. So let's switch back over to the list of things we need to do. So now we've got our Xcode project already. So we now need to drag our framework into that. So as you can see, we need to open Documents and then the Facebook SDK framework, and that's there. So let's switch back over to our app and drag that in. So there we go, and we'll copy items and create folder references. And that will bring in the Facebook SDK, Software Development Kit, into our app. Okay, let's switch back over. You can see now we need to configure what's known as the plist. This is something that we haven't looked at before. It's inside supporting files, and info.plist essentially is a list of options which you can put into your app. So if you need to change various options, then you can do that here. So let's switch over and see what we need. As you can see, we need a key called Facebook App ID, and that's going to be our app ID. So I'd always copy and paste these things. So let's add a row. And the property that we want is the Facebook App ID. And the value is going to be the app ID, which is over here. So let's just select that and paste it in there. And then we'll go back. We want the Facebook display name, which is the display name that we chose. Let's add another one. I think I can do without copying and pasting that one. It was just Tinder. And then we create one called URL types. So add row URL types. This one is an array, so we need to add something beneath it. So a single array with a sub-item called URL schemes. So let's go back and do that. We're going to add, so let's expand URL types. You can see we've already got item 0 there, which has an item in it called URL identifier. Let's replace that with URL schemes, which is in itself an array. So the first item in URL schemes needs to be the app ID prefixed with FB. So let's go back and do that. So within URL schemes, item 0 is there and FB. And we go back over to grab our app ID again. There. Fantastic. We've added our 3 items. We're almost there. We just need to add the import for the Facebook SDK. So you'll be familiar with this since we did it with Pass before. We need to create a bridging header file. So let's do that. Back over here. So file. In fact, let's just make sure we get it in the right place. New file, Objective-C file, and this one's going to be for Facebook. So let's call it Facebook Bridge. And we'll just create it right there in the app. And we definitely want the header. There we go. Let's get rid of the .m file because we don't want that. Move it to trash, and then all we want to do is import the Facebook SDK. Okay, great. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to test whether that's been successful. We can't just do a hello world and try and connect to Facebook. So what we'll do is we'll import parse next, and then we'll do our test when parse is imported. So here's a quick test for you. Can you import parse in exactly the same way that we did last time? Go for it. I hope you managed it. I'm going to go through it. If you did manage it, then this is not going to be particularly interesting for you, so feel free to skip through the next minute or so of the video, but I'll take you through it step by step just in case. This time we want the extra parse Facebook utils framework because we're going to be using that, obviously. So I'm just going to drag all three of those in there, and that then should bring them in for us. And then we want to add all the necessary frameworks. So we do that in build phases. I can never remember what they are, so I'm going to switch over Audio Toolbooks and CF Network. Here we go. Do feel free to skip this bit, it's not that exciting. Core graphics, core location. Libs and mobile core services. Quartz core and security. And store kit and system configuration. Great. Now we need to head back over to Parse to create a new app. So let's go to the main Parse dashboard and create a new app over here. Here we go. So this one's going to be Tinder. And this will give us our new keys that we need. There we go, the application ID and the client ID in particular. And now we need to add our app keys. Head back over to Xcode. Now I've stored my Instagram app over here, so we can use this code to set our application ID. Remember, we did it in App Delegate under Did Finish Launching with Options. So let's go over there, App Delegate, Did Finish Launching with Options, pop that in there. So the application ID is going to be different. So let's pop that in. And the client key as well. There we go. So we should now be connected to Parse, and with any luck, Facebook as well. So let's head back over to our Parse documentation and click on Facebook users. So we've now set up a Facebook app, and we've added the application's ID into our app, but not yet on our Parse application settings page. So let's go back over there via our dashboard. Let's keep that there. So there's Instagram, this is Tinder. So let's change the settings of the app. And we want user authentication for Facebook. And we want to allow Facebook authentication. Great, that's already on. So app ID is over here. We've used that before. And the app secret is there. I always like to refresh there just to make sure that that has indeed been saved. Let's have a look. There we go. So it's saved our app settings. So now we can go back over to our guide. We've added those bits in. We've already followed Facebook's instructions to get the SDK integrated into our app, and we've also done this part, and we've added the Facebook utilities as well. That's great. We've added the application ID to our did finish launching with options, but we haven't initialized Facebook yet. So let's do that. So back over to our app delegate. And now let's switch over to our bridging header. We don't need to add another bridging header. We can just put our pass code in here. Pass.h. And that should now bring in pass for us. Let's have a look in the app delegate. And let's just check. If we go back to the app delegate, we've now don't have an error there anymore, which is great. We still have our error there because we need to bring in the Facebook Utils framework too. The code for that is right over here. So let's paste that in. Goes into our bridging header. There we go. So now we should be able to lose that error as well. There we go. And now we need to add in. So I'll just copy those and paste them at the bottom of the app delegate. There we go. Switching back over. We're now in a position to actually use it. So we need this bit of code to set the user up. So let's be lazy and just put that straight into our viewDidLoad method. And then as soon as we run the app, we should find that it requests the Facebook login straight away. So you can see we've got an error there, use of unresolved identifier permissions, because we haven't actually defined any permissions yet. Let's just find out quickly what permissions are. They're essentially what we're going to request from the Facebook user's profile. So if we have a quick look at permissions, the classic sort of things to ask for are the public profile, the email address, and the likes. And in fact, those are the only three things. If I scroll down, I'll show you. Those are the only three things that you can request through your app without actually going to Facebook and asking for more permissions. So here, if you don't ask Facebook for a review, you'll only be able to collect the public profile, their users' friends, and their email. So we're going to keep things very simple and just ask for the public profile for the moment. So let's see how we do that. Go back over. So permissions is actually very simple. It's just a variable with a list of all the permissions that you want. So we want the public profile. So we set it like that. So, oops, and I want a var there to define my array. So we've got an array called permissions and we only want one. Of course, if we wanted the email as well, then we'd do that. And if we wanted likes, we'd do that. So we're just going to keep it very simple and just go for the public profile. That's all we'll need, in fact, for our app as well, because we really just want the user's photo and their name. Okay, we've got a bug in the code there. So let's change that to user being nil. Just before we run our app, there is something that I've found in the past documentation. The Facebook utils command comes before set application ID, but I found that that gives me an error. So I'm just going to swap that round and initialize Facebook after setting the application ID. And I've also got a little error there. That should be if user is equal to nil. I hope you spotted that one. So if user is equal to nil, then they cancelled the Facebook login because no user has been created. And then we've got some other options as to whether they signed up or whether they logged in because they already had access. So it took us a long time to get there. We haven't been able to do any testing until now, but we should now find, with any luck, that as soon as the app runs, it attempts to log in via Facebook. And you can see there that Tinder will receive the following info, just the public profile like we selected. The main thing is the app can't post to Facebook. That's what most people are worried about. So let's click OK and authorize the app. And we should get a little thing in the logs saying that the user has logged in through Facebook. Fantastic news. So I hope you managed to follow along with all of that. It's quite a long process, but we now have our sign-in code that we can use for the user to log in via Facebook. Congratulations.